Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning back in. Today we're going to be showing you some clips and current video of a Chevy K10 build. We're going to be sharing some pictures of the disassembling process. This project started back in Georgia. And this is where we're starting to prep for bodywork. And here's a picture of the bed and the cab that we've sanded. The bodywork process continues here in this picture. And the parts finally get some primer. After it's painted and assembled, this is where things go south. We found out the original frame is bent, so we got another frame and another problem. Well, now that we've got the new frame that Rodney bought down in Georgia, here in Tennessee, along with the K10, we're pressure washing it before putting it inside to start switching everything off the wreck frame onto this one. We are going to paint this frame before we start putting any of the new parts on it. Sounds simple, right? What could possibly go wrong?
I'll show you a little at-home trick you can do. This frame was purchased, all four-wheel drive frames we found it bent. So that truck there has a bent frame up under. We painted it, come to find out the frame's not usable because it's been twisted in 3 or 4 different directions. So what we did, this frame here, when we pressure washed it, this side here was laid out at the top. And whenever I measured it, it was like way out here. It was like 1.5 inches or 1 3/4 inches. So I took the come along and I went from this cab mount here to that cab mount there, and I jacked it in with a come along. Because there's no braces. This is the front of your bed, right here. No brace from here to the front of the engine compartment. So in order to straighten the frame without the cab on it, the only thing you can do is twist and turn and hope for the best. If I had my 4-post lift set up, I used to use it for a frame machine when we was in Georgia, but we don't have that leisure right now. So what I did is I run 2 strings parallel with the frame rails, because these frames are straight all the way to here. Then they kick in for the engine compartment, then they kick straight for the motor mounts, and they stay straight about the gearbox. They kick in just a little more and they go out to the front bumper. So I bolted the cross member back in place. That way I had support on the bottom of the frame. Since there's nothing on top of the frame, I ran my come along from here to there, and I ran a board across top of the frame rails. And I jacked it back together, let it sit and lose its memory. And it set for about 2 to maybe 3 days. In that period of time, I cut the end of the frame rails off so that the 80 to or 81, the square body, in the later years used a chopped off front of the frame. From 73 to 79, the bumper bolted directly to the front of the frame. It had a little rolled edge on it in the front. So from 80 up, some of them went to 81, but from 80 to 81 up to 87 had the front bumper brackets. So what I did is I cut the front of the frame at an angle, drilled my holes for the bumper brackets to fit onto, and bolted them in place. I pulled from far corner of the frame rail on top to this front leaf spring perch. Then I pulled the same from there to there, so I got my frame X'd out and squared. So it wasn't what they called Z'd, where one frame rail was out of coherent with the other one. It was just the frame was knocked over in the front. So what I did, like I said, I come along that together. After coming along it together, letting it set, this bend here was bent up. It had a straight edge to it, so I tapped it back down to give it the concave. This here was bent down, so I tapped it back up to give it rigidity back in the frame. So now that we've got that done, the frame is only out like a 1/2 inch. So I talked with the owner and told him that really with the way the frame was, we kept messing with it. You only want to get it so close. We keep messing with it, then we're liable to mess measurements up somewhere else. So we're going to leave this be, and then when we put a cab on it, the cab will act as the top structure for the top of the frame. Then up here in the front, this side here on the driver's side was pushed out all the way to, you see that mark right there? That was the mark where it was at. Well, we pushed it in. So now this is only a 1/2 inch out in the front. And it was like 1 3/4 inches. So we've gained 1 1/4 inches, pushing this rail back in. That rail is square. So now that we got everything lined back up to where the bumper holes will fit, frame rails are pretty well straight. Then we're going to transfer this front end and rear end out of this one and take the one off the old frame and put it under here. That way we got more of a highway gear. These are 307s, those are 373s. But this truck here has been took all apart and painted. We did it in Georgia about a year ago, over a year ago. But the problem we're having is right here. When I'm painting it, there was a dent right here in the roof. And I just took it to somebody sitting in the cab, on top of the cab. Well, the door hinges are wore out, so the doors have dropped way down. So I picked the doors back up, and you can see a belly right there too. Picked the doors back up, got all my lines set up, seams set up, painted the whole truck with the doors off of it, fenders off of it, bed off of it. It was all in pieces. Got it, start putting it back together. And right here, the door overlaps the A-post. And it only does it from here to here. So what happened was the truck was in a wreck. Now that we further investigated it, this fender was bent at the bottom, which we fixed, but it pushed the fender up, and when it pushed the fender up, it pushed the A-post back. So that dent up there I thought was a butt dent from somebody sitting in the roof. It was actually a dent from the cab of the truck being pushed back from the wreck, from the fender being jacked up. And I pulled this out with a forklift, let it sit for, I don't know, a couple of days, and turned it loose, and it stayed. But the frame rails rolled out down here. When they pulled this frame, instead of pulling it down, forward and down, back in the correction of the accident, they just pulled it straight. So the bolt holes that was ripped apart in it that we thought was ripped from the steering gearbox and the big tires actually was a result from them pulling the frame back, just pulling a straight angle on it. So what it caused it to do is this cab mount right here is rolled down. So it's sitting at I think it was 1 1/8 inch gap between the outside of the rubber bushing and the bottom of the cab. So when your bolt goes through the rubber bushing, it would go like this. So I took and made me a wedge, put up under the rubber so that my bolt would be straight and I could wedge the cab back up. But still, with the frame being rolled out, there's not enough rigidity there to hold the frame up. So the truck only sit in his carport. It ain't been driven, ain't done nothing. And it's settled back down to the point to where the cab and the A-post is touching again. So what we're hoping to do is once we get this on that frame, get this pulled back out to where I had it before, sit it on the other frame, and that way it'll square up the cab so the cab's not sagging in this front corner. And you can even see the fender gap. It's got a big gap at the bottom and it's pinched at the top. And I caused that by the front core support bolt was broke and we didn't realize it. So this was floating, and since it broke the core support bushing out of the front, the only thing holding the front end in place was this fender. So hopefully once we get in that frame, because there again, this frame is pushed up in the front, so it's got everything racked to the back. So when we put it on a square frame, that'll let the fender settle back down in place. And then when I jack this door back down, or jack the door back out, then that'll let the door, the A-post, fold back out. So when I bolt it down on that frame over there, it should be straight from side to side. And that'll give us all of our gaps back. But this has been a nightmare all the way around.
got the bed off the truck, we move the new frame over here so that we can continue working on it.
Alright. And I want to jack up on the frame, not the front leaf spring. So I'm getting right up on the rivet right there. Because if you jack up on the leaf spring, the rubber is going to you're going to have all kind of give points to it. Come around here with your camera and watch the bubble. Alright, I'm going to put pressure on that front corner. And like I said, I'm going to go beyond 0, which would be straight. Alright, that there is level. So we want to go just beyond that. And then we're going to let it sit. Because just by jacking it up and turning it loose, you haven't accomplished anything. You got to let it lose its memory because it's been sitting in a bent position for who knows how long. But now you can see that gap there opened up and this gap here closed up. So it's like a seesaw. But this gap here, like I said, that there's bent, so I'm going to have to bend it down. And once I bend it down, that's going to close up even more. All right, let's see what effect it had on the leaf spring hanger back here. Remember before, that one over there was kicked backwards. Now that one over there is standing straight up and down. This one here is leant forward still. So that means the frame has also got a frontal impact right there in that area somewhere. In order to straighten that up, we get a little bitty pair of adjustable wrench. This is generally what I use to tighten my pocket watch with. She's got to go change memory cards, and after that, we'll be right back. All right, y'all are back from your little siesta. All right. Like I was saying before, I'm going to take my little bitty pocket watch adjuster here. This is bent down. It's obvious by the bottom of the board. You see the shadow there. So I don't want to do much work to this frame rail because this frame rail does not seem to have the damage to it that this one side does. So if you bend this side and bend that side, you'll chase yourself all day long. You'll never get a straight area because this side over here is going to contradict what you do to this side. This side is going to contradict what you do to this side. So this side's bent. So if we try and straighten this side, it's going to cross-reference to this side over here. And since this side's straight, you're going to get a happy medium. It's not going to be perfect. The owner already knows it's not going to be perfect. So I'm just going to twist this up right here. And there again, that's your spring perch that holds the weight of the vehicle up. So there's not much you're going to do to that to reflect any gain or any loss because the radial core support is going to keep this from spreading apart or doing what it's going to do. I knew this area was going to be a problem because that's where your cab mount is, and cab mount's obviously damaged. Whew, I ain't as good as I used to be. Getting old sucks, folks. So when I'm making these videos, maybe they help y'all, maybe won't. But at least maybe help somebody out. Maybe my grandyoungins will see it. The sun's rolled all the way to right there. Up on that rubber mount. I said, you just want gentle motions. Nothing too aggressive. And each bend contradicts the next, so. See right there how that's rolled around flat? This is square and parallel with this, and this here lays down. That's where the motor mount is, and even the motor mount's bent. See how it's not flush against the frame, so that would have been where the motor slammed back down in as a truck. Either when the wrecker service turned it back over, or either when the wreck turned it back over. So that's how the damage got done. There's a big gap right there. And if you use a shrink stretcher, that's pretty much all you're doing here. Grabbing one little bite at a time, moving it, manipulating it. See how this is auto correcting already? That's starting to come back forward. Before it was negative. Now it's starting to come back positive. Let's see, make sure it's hadn't moved none. Alright, this is still negative, so it's holding on its own. Alright, we're back on the frame. We let it sit 24 hours or better, probably about 30 hours. It's been jacked up on this front corner, so let's let it down and see what it says. Alright. And it says it is dead level. Can't get no better than that. Which it still may settle back down and get out of level again just a little bit, but nowhere near as bad as it was. And even on our board, it's dead level. And you can see here where now the perches are level. I've got the same amount of gap. And then from the top of the leaf spring, we've got 8 1/4. And from the top of the leaf spring, we've got 8 1/4. So hey, can't get no better than that.
Got it up here on the lift. We are about to put it down here on this cart. So there's that. We've got some fenders to it over here. The hood's over there on that frame that we're going to be putting everything on. This is the original frame that we just took the cab off. We had the bed off of it. It is over there by that door there, all covered up. And there's the hood. And then that's the frame that everything will be put onto. So we've got to take parts off of this one and put onto that one.
Show them that's the frame we straightened this in the first video and it's still level.
Yeah, there's a video of us straightening this frame here. And we've had the level still on it, so it is showing that it is stayed in place and is still level, so that's a good sign.
So we're gonna make it more user friendly. We're gonna drop it down to a 2-inch lift to get rid of this 6-inch lift and get it to where he can get in and out of it a little bit better. Pressure wash everything, put new seals and all in the transmission transfer case. Rear main seal in the motor's leaking. Everywhere it's parked, it leaves a puddle of fluid. So we'll get all that done and we'll bring y'all back here in a little while when we get started on switching everything over. Alright, well today, this is the motor out of the gray truck that you see us working on. So we're putting cam bearings in it and gonna put a small cam in it. The cam bearings that come out of it has a bunch of wear on them. So in order to keep the oil pressure and the tolerance and all, we're putting cam bearings in it. And it's a pain to do with the rotating assembly installed, but we voted against pulling everything out of it. This is how we're going to do it. This makes it a little harder. You have to fish around, but this is what it is. I always take my wire and bend it, and the end of my bearing installer's got a small hole in it, and that fits perfectly in the hole. So I can take and fish with this and get my bearing down in there, and I put a mark on my bearing installer head. That way I know where my oiler is. So then all I gotta do is turn it around to that point. And install it.
Sounds easy.
Yeah. And today my shoulder's not killing me, so it just ain't a good day. But it is what it is. Alright. So now we're going to take, line that with the hole. And nobody likes to do the cam bearing with the crankshaft in it because you can't hardly see it. You have to make your own windows of opportunity. So now that we can see right there, see the cam bearing down in there, and in a hole right there, you see the gold thing with the cam bearing on it. We're going to tap it in to where just the edge of the gold thing is showing. You can't see the cam bearing no more. And then the way I do is once the bearing's in there, there's a journal in the block for your oiling gallery. So once I get the bearing in there, I take my oiling hole and I take this piece of wire, and it's the same diameter as the oiling hole. So I'll take the wire and stick in there and stick through the hole, and then that way I can fill my galley. I can feel if I'm in the center of my galley or not. If you stick it in, you can feel resistance. It'll want to push it this way or push it this way. And you'll know that you either need to go in further or you're in too far. If you push it straight in and it falls straight in the hole, then you know it's in the center. So, I'm going to have people out there say that ain't the way you do it, but that's the way I do it. That's the way I've been doing it. So we just did it with the motor in that black truck right there. So. I'm not bragging, but it's worked this far in my life, so we're just going to keep on working that way.
Yeah, the black truck is still here.
Yeah.
We just finished the video on it, so go back and check out the video of the quick lube disaster, yeah, nightmare. Go back and check out those two videos.
Stand right here and tell me when that gold.
Right where?
Right there, when you look down in there. And on your cam bearing tool, it's got a centering sleeve on this end of it that centers it up with the bore.
Let me know the centering sleeve.
See, it's tapered. Mm-hmm. And you stick it right in your bore.
All right. Instead
of a bare hole, it's a bore hole this time. And then you just gently tap it.
Okay, bearing's going in.
And when the gold gets right there to the edge.
To the edge of this?
Yeah.
Okay, right there.
Okay. Now once you get the bearing flush with the block, you want to tap it at least 2 more times with just not a whack, just a gentle tap. 1, 2. Because the bearing don't sit flush with the edge, it sits in just a hair. So it's gonna go in just a hair more. From my rod goes to the hole. Pulling back. So with it pulling back, that means my oil ring in there is right here. So with it pulling back, if I push my bearing in further, 1 or 2 more taps, then when it goes in, it should go in the center. But you want to do just gentle taps. You don't want to do you don't want to get a hammer and just start wailing on it. You want to do a little bit at a time. So me and my biscuit turn back around.
Not your biscuit.
And now it's going to fall over, like I've been wanting the whole time.
I can't get a good view of that, so we'll just view from afar.
Yeah, it's just a pain in the butt to get people and cameras and everything in here where you're supposed to be. Now this won't be a pain in the butt.
I see the biscuit from here.
Every time I say I'm not going to do this no more, I won't do it again. Just because it is a pain. Okay, it's standing up.
I can probably put my hand in there and hold it. Want me to?
No, I got it. It'll go in there once you get it lined up, it'll go where it's supposed to go.
Okay, got it.
Getting it lined up's a pain in the butt. Okay. Like I said, you don't want to just wail on it, you just want to gently tap it. So, you line that back up, that way you're squarely hitting the bearing with the block. So, how do you do that? You take and you push and install it back out. It's got an O-ring on it that seizes it in seats it in the bearing and holds it in place for you. If you had the main caps off of it and the crankshaft out of it, you can see through the bearing, through your crank bearing, through the hole into the cam bearing, so you'll be able to line the holes up that way. But like I said, we're not pulling the bottom end of this one apart, so we have to do it this way. It's a little more tedious and time consuming, but you don't have but 5 of these things. So.
That's all?
But you always want to make sure that's at a 90-degree angle because you're feeling what that's feeling. So if you got this bent either way, when it goes in the hole, you'll get a misreading. So you want to make sure that's 90 degrees because you want it 90 degrees to the block, just like that. So that's a good reference. If you put it on your crank and then put it on your timing gear, and you can see it straight 90 degrees to the crank, then that means it's going to be 90 degrees to the journal right here where your oil comes through.
Well, now he is spraying the copper tone on the gaskets. They've already got the bearings finished. So this is the next step, I guess. What are you going to do after this?
I'll put the heads on, put the oil pan on. While these are drying, I'm going to breed a sandwich and put some weight on.
Okay.
Probably not. This here just helps your gasket bond to the maintenance surface of the head. It's not necessary. It's not. Nobody's going to hold it against you if you don't do it. But I always do it just for extra protection. Because if y'all watch the video of us taking the heads off of the 454 that come out of that truck, all we could do is pry the head gaskets off of it. So if you got any imperfections, especially if it's a motor that hasn't been in the machine shop, hasn't been decked or nothing. If you got a motor that's just come out of the machine shop, and all the surfaces are flat, and no questions, then you ain't got to do this. But this one is still in the state it was in when we took it out of the truck. One thing we do is put cam bearings in it. So we're doing this just for ha-has and giggles.
Alright, he's got the thread sealer already on the head bolts here. And they put one head on the engine. Getting some bolts put in there now.
And it goes in the very end over in the hole. Always make sure you clean your surfaces with some type of degreaser. So just because the copper seal is on there, if you cross-contaminate it with oil, you ain't done nothing. Just always make sure that you got a clean mating surface. And you can also take, if you got a surface that's questionable, you take one of your push rods and lay it down flat and run it up the head. And look down the head as you come up. And you can see if you got any high and low spots. Another way you can do this is to take and mist a light coat of paint on it. And take a piece of sandpaper and one of your push rods and scuff across it. Wrap the sandpaper around your push rod and just scuff the push rod up and down your head. And it'll pick up on only high and low spots, like you block sanding a vehicle. And then here's got a little bit of a low spot right there in between them two pistons. Like I said, none of this has machine work. Nothing has recent machine work on it, so that's the reason I'm taking all precautions using the copper seal and all like that. That kind of helps guarantee the situation. A little added protection. And it flies in there just like that. Like I said, I can't remember which one I did last, so. That's the last one I did because I still got the second.
Alright, now he's gonna be torquing the head bolts down. We do have the heater going, so it's a little loud in here. But we're cold, so we're gonna leave it on for a minute. Well, as you can see, he's putting the water pump on now. Next, he'll be putting the intake on, and then this one will be just about buttoned up. We didn't video putting the lifters and the push rods in. So.
Seen that in the last video. Figure we wouldn't bore y'all with repetition stuff.
So after the intake on this one, then you'll just be...
Intake, where's it at? Okay. Is it clean?
It'll just be ready to be degreased, and then we'll take it back and paint it, right?
Yeah, we're gonna take it back and paint it blue to accent the blue on the truck. Not a Ford blue, it's a dark, real dark blue, so. But we're gonna paint it to accent the truck because it's blue and gray. But it's down here in Georgia, so there's no sense of painting it here because it would never survive the trip back up yonder. So we'll be going up next week and put this on the rolling frame. We'll get you videos of that. And well, we'll get this painted first, then we'll put it on the rolling frame, and then we're gonna possibly try and get the rest of the paint job done and get done with it. That way it can come back down here to Georgia. Well, that bumper just broke, so that ain't nice.
Oh my goodness.
So I meant to go take the water pump back off.
What?
Water pump bolt broke.
Well.
Well, rinse and repeat. This truck has got a hex on it because everything we have done to it has went just as back as we get the other. It's supposed to have been
Not just this one though.
Yeah, it's supposed to never been wrecked. The frame was bent. This is supposed to have been a 383 stroker, and it wasn't nothing but an overcammed stock. It's got stock pits and stock everything. 350. So everything about the truck has been a fairy tale. Except for what I've had to do with it, it's been a nightmare. This has been one of them chucky back moments.
So, I guess he'll take that back off and we'll do this again.
Yeah. Well, all right. Today we're going to color match this engine to the blue that's on the bottom of the pickup, square body pickup truck. So we're going to get it sprayed. We got the self-etching primer on it now. So we're going to go ahead and get it sprayed, and that way we're going to get back to putting the truck together. So let's mix up some paint and get busy.
Well, he just finished painting the engine, so I'll give you a quick view of it. We're going to head back out here and work on the frame some more so that we can set the engine over on the frame tomorrow. Alright, they're about to set the motor over with the forklift. Uh-oh. I got tools falling off the back tires.
No, better go down.
That bright blue already pops in that black frame. So you said you're gonna put the transmission in after you get this in, and what else? Transfer case.
Transfer case.
You got all the brake lines and fuel line trim?
Yep.
Gotta put the gas tank back in it. It's sitting over here on the 55.
Could be a hammer right there, Summers.
Little one.
You did it! Tinky, tinky, tinky. Big hammer. Big hammer for such a little job? Yeah.
Alright, they got it all chained up, bolted down, so they're going to be putting the transmission over in there now.
I'll get a wrench and pull it out. Wonder where the other levels are, not that much. And it didn't have no transmission fluid in it, so how did all that come out?
Yeah.
This transmission has been pouring fluid for the past 5 years. Religiously. And it's bone dry. We've had a pan off of it, service to put new seals in it, and it's still pouring fluid. May have to. Let me switch it around. Now the jackhammer's gonna be in the way of it. Or it will.
You should have painted that blue too.
Paint what Bluetooth?
The transmission.
It's silver. That's good enough. Might be something somewhere, sometime, somewhere, for some reason.
Top part went blue, back part went.
Yeah. Well, at least you're keeping it gray and blue like the truck.
This is supposed to have been a simple paint and body job, and it's turned into a full frame off, frame restoration of a car.
Right.
Are we gonna hit the ceiling?
You're good.
We'll hit the hoot owl?
You're good. You're missing the hoot owl.
We'll hit the frame?
Frame and the jack handle is questionable.
Where's the like
A lot.
got this part open. Let's see here.
What do you need? A strap?
No.
Black strips right there. There it goes.
Oh, he's got to go all the way outside and look for whatever it is. Well, it didn't have any luck.
No, not usually.
Well, what is it that you're looking for?
Something to extend that fork out with. I had a piece of metal.
Well, I guess I'll help you look for a piece of metal. While they're getting the bolts for the transmission, they brought the drive shaft and gas tank straps in here. I think that's what they're called. Got those painted black. So I'm gonna go out and see if they're ready to put the transmission in and show y'all some of that process.
Have y'all got my truck ready yet? Well, how much longer is it going to take?
The boss is here, y'all, and
Mom's going to
they're
work.
ignoring you.
Chop, chop.
Call us next year and we'll let you know how we.
No, we gotta have it. We gotta have it ready before. What'd you say? Daytona.
Yeah, spring rod run.
That's right. Spring rod run in Daytona.
Well, you just better put the camera down and make it busy.
I've been busy. Look at my hands.
Yeah, look at her.
Look at my clothes.
She is dirtier than y'all are.
That's right.
We can
Look.
tell who's been working.
We don't lay down on our work.
I don't lay down either. I sit in the chair.
I think I asked you, did you need a strap? You said no.
Look.
What do we?
And what are you using?
Look,
a strap?
I'm doing this. I'm don't be.
What do women know?
I don't know. Tell me.
I knew you needed a strap.
Did you?
I did.
Did I get one?
You did.
Why damn? I mean, dang darn.
Alright, we've got some redneck engineering here to extend the transmission out over the motor. We have extended the fork on the forklift. See how this works. Just a swinging. The boss lady's gonna get over there and fix it for him. Yep.
Back up with it. Oh, man,
Down.
Damn.
Down. Right there. It worked, y'all. See, I knew you needed a strap the whole time. They just listened to me.
I really wish I had washers to put on this because I hate putting them on blind.
We'll
I
go get
don't
some
have one.
glasses.
You funny, ain't you?
That black card over there's got a bunch of washers on it.
Does it? Where'd it go?
We just got a few, we got a-
No, there's another one somewhere.
Alright, we might go. This one here's a dipstick bolt.
Yeah, there it is.
What you said this one's dipstick.
Dipstick goes up here.
Oh, what?
How big a boat? I mean, how big a washer?
Wow, all the way.
You need fingernail. How many you got?
3, 4, 5, I need one more.
A little more better.
So some transmission makes the motor look dang near chrome.
You got any more bolts? More.
Are we on this one?
Not bad, we got it.
Well, they're gone, so it's got to be over here somewhere.
There's one on the tire.
Yeah, here's one.
Is that it?
Use that one.
I am, I.
Oh, it's clean now. It's silver and blue and black. And I call you Mr. Morris.
Huh?
Some of them paper towels. Wipe this transmission fluid off. You know if you touch this and it's gonna be transmission fluid.
There's one on top of it. I don't know what it's laying up there for.
Where'd you get that?
I pulled it out of my intake.
How much does a helper get paid?
No
I don't know,
attention.
but I need to get paid. I
Both
found the
of you get
bolt.
paid
I
no
found the
attention.
paper towel.
Well, there's 2 more paper towels.
Both of you get paid no attention whatsoever. How you like that?
That's the
We already
truth.
knew that.
Okay, well then you don't want to raise, do you? You can't be.
So we need to get it.
Can't have it all.
And you get some paper jack in it.
That looks very clean. Till Sherry gets in it and goes mud bogging.
No.
You're not gonna take it down to the mud fest.
I like to take my Tahoe down there to get in the mud.
See? Alright, they are cleaning up the original exhaust system on the truck, sanding the headers and the exhaust pipe so they can get it painted.
So they're gonna be restored just like the truck is.
And they've got this one pretty much sanded down and a lot of the rust knocked off of it, so Rodney's got the headers on this one almost done, and then got to sand that one and it'll be ready to be primed and painted.
That little reed right there all the way down. Feel it?
You painting that blue?
What color are you painting?
Silver.
Silver.
We're gonna turn them into chrome
I didn't think you were painting blue. I was
via
just kidding,
aerosol can. The new big money exhaust system. Straight out of a can.
Yeah, that works.
Alright, we'll go over here and help Rodney get his situation.
I got almost all of the hood wet sanded. Got to do that mid part back on the cowl there once I can move this stand around. So we're moving right along. While I was away with the camera, they went ahead and got the exhaust system painted. So I figured I would show you that real quick. And we'll get out here and get ready to get these installed. Well, we're back out here working on the K10. He put some parts on the motor. We got it installed the other night. We got the exhaust system under the frame. They sanded and painted it, so it looks a lot better. We don't have it on the exhaust hangers yet. It's just kind of held up there with straps right now. But the paint on the engine is single stage. The truck is base clear, so this should darken up some when the engine's ran. He got some of the lines on there. Was going to start working on some of the electrical. So we've stopped on the frame for today, and now we're wet sanding. I've got the tailgate and the hood wet sanded. I've got to go back over it one more time. He's working on the fender and already has the bed over here wet sanded.
Yeah, we had some trouble with trying to do stuff the cheap way, and I bought some sealer from Swap Meet, and it did not like the K2 or 2K primer. So when we painted the hood and painted the tailgate, it developed looked like fish eyes, but it's kind of like solvent pop, but it was in reverse. Solvent pop was like a bunch of little pinholes. Fish eyes just sunk in place. But this was kind of like a crater with little pinholes around it. So I don't really know what went on there, but anyhow, it was breathing through the paint, so that's what caused the issue. So since we had to take it back off the frame again, I was going to wet sand and drown that with clear. Since we had to take it back off the frame again to put it on another frame, since the other frame was bent, we decided to just go ahead and re-clear the whole truck, since we got to paint the hood and all, and fix some blemishes that was in the paint that wouldn't be corrected otherwise. So that's the reason we're doing it this way. But hopefully by maybe this weekend we can have some color back on this thing, have clear back on it, and next week start doing the final assembly on it.
Y'all stay tuned for part 2 of the K10 build next week as we paint and reassemble the truck on the frame. And don't forget, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and check out our second channel at Dixie Customs Extra. Thanks for watching.